live in 3, 2, 1. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Lots of craziness in the news today, including some pretty scary things going on for our president and for Elon. If you haven't been following, there's been some pretty alarming things happening to even Tesla dealerships as an obvious message to Elon, and a massive attack that has actually gone straight after X. On top of that, the president, on top of the many threats that he most likely has already, of course, new ones have been popping up left and right. In fact, one man that was trying to get into the White House ended up having not such a good day and is most likely in the hospital or most likely not around anymore. There is also an event which we are going to talk about that keeps happening over Mar-a-Lago, which now is getting to the point where they're going to redirect traffic. But first of all, North Korea fires missiles as the U.S. South Korea begin their first joint military exercise of Trump's second term. Now, we've talked about these every year. These are kind of the cut the head off the snake drill that they do. And of course, every time North Korea has a huge deal, of angst about them. They're always pissed off that we're doing them. At the same time, this is the first drill, I believe, too, that we are now working with the new president. Still no mention of why the old one or anything about how the old one got arrested, taken out of the presidential palace, and is, on this big trial and is going to get in trouble for it. All of this after nobody is talking about the claims he made, which is China infiltrated South Korea. So, yeah, lots of really weird stuff happening here. Now, North Korea fired missiles. And of course, that's no surprise to anybody, but they're not slowing down, they're speeding up. Hopefully this is not like the first term where they were firing one almost every weekend. North Korea fired several ballistic missiles into the sea on Monday, just after South Korea and United States kicked off their first major joint military exercise with President Donald's second term. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said that the missiles firings were detected from the north-southwestern Hangui Province, and the weapons were described as close range and in response. South Korea's military said that it had bolstered its surveillance posture and closely coordinating with the U.S. Quote, "We are aware of the DPRK's multiple ballistic missile launches and are consulting closely with the Republic of Korea and Japan, as well as other regional allies and partners. The United States condemns these actions and calls on the DPRK to refrain from further unlawful and destabilizing acts." The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said in a statement, we have assessed that this event does not pose an immediate threat to U.S. personnel or territory. To our allies, we continue to monitor the situation. The U.S. commitments to the defense of the ROK and Japan remain ironclad. Now remember, half of these end up going right over Japan, which scares the crap out of the Japanese. Japan has turned themselves into quite a force as well over the last couple years, taking, they haven't officially taken it out, but they are basically taking out the self-defense part of their forces. They're going to be an offensive force to be reckoned with, and all people know that Japan are not somebody to be messed with. We'll talk about the rest and, of course, Elon and the presidential stuff in just a moment. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfugglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We have a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so remember you have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document in 3, 2, over on the website, marfooglenews.com. Remember, you also have the Friends page over there, which has everything from, of course, all of the articles, a full bibliography, but it also has the list of all of the mods and where to find them. All right, let's go into it. First, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Let's talk about Russia begins naval exercises with China. So the same time that we're practicing for North Korea, they're practicing with China and Iran in the Gulf of Oman.
Exactly. So the three have now gotten together, and they are running drills. They're called the Marine Security Belt 2025. They aim to improve the counter-piracy and the T operations at sea, as well as to ensure the security of maritime communications, according to the Russian military statement. I kind of chuckle at the T and the anti-piracy because it just that's where they're playing, but they're playing with the one of the countries that is behind it all. So it doesn't make much sense. But I get it. They also have their own enemies, so maybe that's what they're focused on. But Russia's Navy is represented by 2 corvettes, the Resky and the Russian hero Aldar Taizdenzapov. I'm sure I'm butchering that name. Along with the Pachinka tanker from the Pacific Fleet. Over the course of several days, participating crews in the northern Indian Ocean will conduct operations, including the liberation of hijacked vessels and search and rescue missions and live fire artillery drills against maritime and aerial targets, according to this. This is coming out of the Russian or the Moscow Times.
So, I mean, quite a coinkydink that they're both doing these major drills at the same time. Obviously, they send messages back to each other through these actions, and it's always going to be kind of this back and forth. But hopefully, we never get to the point where it's actually back and forth. I do want to point out in just a little bit here, too, we will actually talk about 2 of the first tips that were put through at Hot Tip over on marfooglenews.com. Now, if you go to the website, you will actually see if you have a hot tip or if you're close to a story, if you have inside information, you can actually go over there and anonymously put that information through. You can go over to marfooglenews.com and you can go to the very top and then go to Marfia Hot Tips. Again, that is at the very, very top of the page, which, gosh dang it, let me see if I can shrink this down a little bit. Yeah, so right at the top of the page, there is a highlighted blue part. Let me see if I can. And that is Marfia Hot Tips. It'll bring you to this page, and then you can, of course, submit your tip. So we'll be reading a couple of those. One has to do with military movement, and then the other has to do with Gene Hackman, somebody close to it that actually moves perished people from one place to another. So we'll talk about that here in just a bit. So we hope that a lot of the people that use that, again, we're going to have a lot of great tips from that. That is one thing that we kind of, I wouldn't say lost, but we didn't get so much of that once we stopped doing the calls. Calls are also something that are something that we want to bring back, but we want to bring it back right. We don't want to alienate the people that have been here for the last year and a half since we haven't had them. Not to mention, if we can even get the volume of calls that we need to do to actually switch over to it again. All right, and then, of course, sign up for our alerts over at marfooglenews.com. Highly, highly recommend it. But yeah, if you definitely want calls back, then please let us know in the comments and in the chat. If you like the call-ins, then make sure that it's known. All right, and then we have Kim Jong-un shows off North Korea's first nuclear-powered sub. So obviously they've been getting a lot of help from each other. They've been doing treaties with each other. Of course, North Korea has been sending troops, at least 10,000, and some say up to 30,000. Numbers really vary, to Russia. Well, now, all of a sudden, they're getting one of their first nuclear-powered subs. I wonder how they got the help on that to get that going. It says, cigarette in hand with the toothiest of grins, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un posed for photographs at a shipyard next to the makings of a nuclear-powered strategic guided missile submarine. The vessel appears to be a 6,000-ton class or 7,000-ton class one with a payload of 10 missiles, in line with plans unveiled at the Hermit Kingdom's 2021 Party Congress. Now, I do want to look at this picture. Like, hopefully there's no, like, seventh fingers, or is there any kind of... first of all, these things holding it up look janky as hell. You know, if there's any experts on, you know, holding up boats or submarines, like, is there anything wrong with this? One thing that I just kind of think is weird, that half of these aren't even touching the damn boat, but maybe that's supposed to be what it looks like. Also, other ones of these have crosses and X's, and some of them just have the one across. I don't know if that's normal. Is that normal? And then this looks like scaffolding that holds up, like, I don't know, a piece of wood that you would paint on. Not to mention, who is walking on these single boards? Something about this just screams like super professional AI to me, but I don't know. Again, one of my theories or side theories is that maybe the guy's not even around anymore. Especially ever since that weird incident where he had brain surgery and he perished. Like, all the news said, oh, yeah, by the way, he died. By the way, nope, just kidding. He's got a stroke and he's a vegetable. Psych, just kidding. The CIA told us to tell you he's totally alive, and now his sister's going to speak for him from this day on. And just forget about the fact that Dennis Rodman said if his sister talks, you know there's a problem. Yeah, forget about all of that. And then we're just going to randomly introduce a daughter as well. And probably a little guy that looks like Gollum that, you know, is saying and typing in all of his words. Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. Either way, this thing is really funky, and of course North Korea could be used for a very real nuke, even if he is replaced, even if they're a puppet nation, even if they are directly controlled by China or Russia or whatever. They are the perfect sacrificial lamb. Think about it. If their country goes and, say, the leader structure goes somewhere else, they wouldn't care about the people there. I mean, it's not like they care about the people that live there anyways. The North Koreans, we at least know that they're not treated very great. So, you know, is that the place that will end up being destroyed and cause a World War III scenario? I think North Korea will be the trigger for a bigger weapon. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, and then before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace if you haven't already. This is a really, really easy service. All you have to do is get on your phone or your tablet from anywhere. You can do it from the comfort of your couch, and you can get yourself a Jace case. This has all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics in it, and you can actually add in all sorts of other things. Once you're on the phone or the appointment with them through the internet, again, you can actually ask them, say, hey, I need some albuterol emergency inhalers. I need fluconazole. I need this. I need that. Again, there's a whole list of add-ons down below, so go check those out. But in the meanwhile, again, you can also check out Jace Daily. That is where you can actually get a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds. That way, if the lights go out tomorrow, you will have medicine for whatever need you have. If you're dependent on one, you may not like being dependent on it, but again, if tomorrow you couldn't go to the hospital or pharmacy, what would you do? Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. All right, and then let's move back into the news. Dex, let's talk about the man flies drone into North Korea from China. Shocking images spark wild reactions online.
How about this? So guys in China, we don't know anything about him. He's so far missing at this point, but he takes a drone up and he flies it over the border, crosses an international border, a very tight and highly protected border, so to speak, in the sense that they don't like outsiders into the Hermit Nation there, flies it into the town on the other side of the border and starts gathering pictures and information. So, of course, the buildings look very much like the buildings you would expect to see there. But there was a couple of things from the images that a lot of people were kind of shocked by. They saw like zero drainage. There was like no water management for the infrastructure, almost as if the area was not even really built to be inhabited. It was built to look like a town. And then the other thing that they noticed was the streets were empty and there was no people there. There was only a few people that looked up and maybe saw the drone and thought it was odd, but they probably didn't know what they were looking at because they may not have ever seen a drone. But these were all posted up on Reddit, and the person who did it has remained anonymous and has not been seen since. So a lot of people are questioning whether, maybe Kim went after him or not. But there's a handful of pictures you can see. You can go to the article and see the rest of them, but we've got a few of them on screen and some more down below where he flew in and basically took a tour around North Korea. Seldom seen except for maybe what our satellite images can get, and I'm sure our military or our NSA has much better imagery than this, but the general public doesn't.
Yeah, and as far as not being, not having sewage and things like that, you would think that a lot of this would be absolutely destructed. I mean, part of the reason that you have drainage is because it damages street, it damages concrete, it damages this stuff over time. I mean, it will just become, naturefied. I don't know if that's a word, but you get what I'm saying. Not to mention it will seep into the cracks of anything that's put together, and it will end up, causing huge damage. So are they spending a ton of money on just redoing it to look fake? Or, there's a reason why they do drainage. But yeah, no surprise. What if there really is not that many people living in a majority of the country? What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, thank you for being here, Julius. We have Rovin Rona, Randy Man, Jammer One, Hokoponopono, Laura Reed. What is happening? Hey, Laura. Hey, Dave. I'm hoping that you're watching with her. Judy Bailey. We've got Christ Saves. We got Stevie J. Nice to see you as well. And Ballerina. Thank you. That guy is now in custody, being hegged by Kim's sister. That's horrible. Angelou Perfelli. Yo, Marf. We've got Melanie White. We've got Smokin' Swamp. Priscilla F. Nice to see you. And Rodney Ramsey. Nice to see you. Let's see here. Tertius Van Stratton. So I sniff a Black Swan event with this tanker cargo ship scenario in the UK. That's exactly what I'm thinking too. But hopefully that's not the case. And then Beans and Frank. Boise here. Char D and Carmine Petraka. And who knows if it's really his sister, if you catch my drift. They're new age over there. All right. And then we have, of course, there was a massive, and still is, and by the way, mine did not work during this time period either, Cyberattack against X. Now, if you haven't seen some of the stuff that's been going on towards Elon actually just recently posted on the Rogan show. When he went on there, he says, no, these people want to end me. They said they want to end me and they want to desecrate me. That's essentially how he put it in a nicer way. But Elon Musk ended up posting and confirming. It says there still was and still is a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day, but this was done with a lot of resources. Either a large coordinated group and or a country is involved. So really, really think about that. He is literally saying that this was big enough to be a nation. So which nation would do this? And why? What was on X while this happened? Was there something that was spreading through X when this happened? That's what I don't know. I wasn't active on Saturday and Sunday, so I don't know. Was there something that was being spread by far, and that's when this ended up happening? Because even if you end up seeing it after the weekend or after the date, all they had to do with the laptop story is call it, fake for a couple weeks until they needed it to be fake. And then after that, they didn't care if people said, oh yeah, it's real, because after that, it didn't matter, right? So with certain things, it doesn't matter after 48 hours. So then they let you see the video, or they let you see the post, or they let you see the article. But again, something like this, I wonder if there was something there. First comment here, they want to silence you and this platform. I don't know what that says, but I agree. Let's see here. And then we have so many countries want to end free speech that it's hard to actually guess which one it was. Exactly. Once you find out who did it, blast it out so everyone knows who's doing it. They're getting desperate. That's assuming that they will actually find out who did it. I don't know if they will. Is there anything we can do as users on X to help root this out? Excuse me. Looks like someone, Clown World said, looks like someone really doesn't want X to thrive. Wonder who's behind it. And it means X is over the target. Exactly. Yeah, that's spot on. Ian Miles Chong, Gunther Eagleman, the left ranged. I guess, everybody is thinking that it's going that way. And then Hal Frightening, as the owner of X, speaks to you directly to say, what did you do last week at work? How do you think that makes federal workers feel? Why the mask people have nothing to hide, don't cover their faces. Masks mean they are excused from using logic. Totally unrelated. Okay. And then look at this. This is kind of weird. Anti-Elon protester. Pause that right here. Admits to getting paid to protest outside of a Tesla location, which that does have a lot to do with what we're about to talk about next. So again, there are a ton of things going on with this hack. But in a second here, I'll show you over on our website too, that there's something even far sinister than even a hack going on, and that's physical attacks against Tesla dealerships. Dex, do you want to talk about the Dark Storm team and this hacking group allegedly behind the X cyber attack?
Yeah, so shortly after Musk's confirmation of the hack, the team called Dark Star Storm team came out on Telegram and claimed responsibility for the DDoS attack of the platform. So the post from them said they were taking responsibility for taking Twitter offline. The group shared screenshots of real-time connectivity status pages that displayed failed connection attempts in various locations around the globe. They were founded in 2023. The group is known for its advanced cyber warfare strategies and successful breaches of high-security systems. Orange Cyber Defense reported that the group has a pro-Palestinian agenda and has recently pledged to launch a series of cyber attacks targeting government websites of NATO countries, Israel, and other nations supporting Israel. So that could be who's behind it, and they have claimed it. Nobody has pointed the finger at them other than they've claimed it.
And what was that you said that they had shown? They had shown of essentially X not working or not processing?
Right. They just showed real-time connectivity status page that displayed failed connection attempts from various locations around the globe.
Okay. So that's
they can make that up.
That's a bunch of people saying, I can't get on.
I can't connect. Right. They could just take those screenshots and just say, yeah, it's not proof, but it is a claim.
So this very well could be, CIA or somebody else saying, hey, we found out who really did it. We can't have the world know about that. So we're going to have this group made in 2023 by us take responsibility and then post no proof whatsoever. I don't know. Something about that does not seem right. Somebody, who was that? Cypher9 says they are desperate for control. It came from Ukraine, from one of the 12 black sites, says Mark C. 29% don't want call-in show. ROM addiction, that would not be a good number for those that don't want it, because that would be 70% due. Saved by Grace, what attack? What attack? That would be the X attack. Sean Jacques, James McGowan, high-tech computers. Yeah. And then X is still in the box. Yes, I am Smart Dust, 18-year cycle, or the eclipse on the 15th. I will check that out. And March 14th is a lunar eclipse. The government budget just happens to be the deadline, 3/15. Oh, I saw something about how that kind of lines up. Now, speaking of Elon being at threat, we'll go over to marfooglenews.com. I just want to show you a couple of the screenshots from this video. Again, this is available over on the actual website. You can go to tonight's bibliography. All you have to do is go to the website. You'll find today's thumbnail. Click on that. Not only will you find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, but you will also find the website with all of this and, of course, videos here. So let me see here. Yes, so hold on. I'm going to make sure that this does not pop up. I'm going to mute it. Okay, so let me see here. I will actually have to pop this on. Okay, it didn't load here, so don't worry. I will get it on here in just a second.
It should be on Earth. The one you're looking for. It's on the next one.
Okay, so here, check this out. No, I don't think it loaded. Maybe I'll skip a few. Nope. Okay, here, I'll send it to you again, and maybe we can just pop it into up next. Here you go. So let's see. Or I can look up Mario's, because he posted this. Let's see. Because this is pretty freaky.
It's in up next if you need it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so. Okay, so I'm going to scroll around here. I can't show most of this because it's not mine, but I can show you a couple things here. Let's see. What page is that on? And let's put this here. Okay, so let me show you. So here he talks about it, and you can go watch this on the video. He talks about on Joe Rogan how he says that they are trying to take him out. Of course, they have posts like this. You see that they are posting, and this totally could be an op, right? This could be a purposeful op that they, absolutely get much attention on, and then post all over the medias, because this is exactly kind of the message that they want out right now. But they're doing it specifically on Tesla chargers and on Teslas. There was a fire boom that went off at different locations at Tesla dealerships. So this is something that is a very scary thing to do, especially with how Teslas are made. We actually know, we had somebody who left a voice message that has a husband that works in the kind of cleanup. And he basically warned, he said, if you ever see one of these crashed, you do not go anywhere near it. That when one of these blows up, if the actual car blows up, the chemicals involved can be not only poisonous, but can do serious harm. And it can do harm for a very long time. That these things, he doesn't even know how they're going to address it. So with something like this, you're not only threatening to blow up the dealership, but you're also threatening to put stuff in the air and destroy, people's lives around it. So this isn't, this is kind of a message to Elon. Well, I think he got the message as he repeated it on Joe Rogan. Is all of this, some sort of crazy op or psyop thing that's going on? I don't know. But what I do know is that this is a crazy time in history, and we have no idea what's coming next. What we can predict is that obviously things are getting worse and worse and worse as far as people's mind states. The state of mind of the country is just so absolutely divided. It's insane. And fighter jets intercept, and this is on the presidential side. Dex, this is very odd. So they're not only changing things around Mar-a-Lago, they're intercepting things, and they're also going to be redirecting things. So why don't you talk about what happened and what has been happening?
Well, for a number of times now, and this is the second time in many days, North American Aerospace Defense Command fighter jets have intercepted a pilot who has entered the restricted airspace around Mar-a-Lago. So this happened yesterday. It's happened a few times before, but a civilian pilot violated the area, and they scrambled F-16s to escort the plane out of the area. The jets used flares that may have been visible from the ground during the intercept to get the pilot's attention. The agency noted that the flares are employed with highest regard for safety and do not pose danger to the people on the ground. But, it's not like we shouldn't just write this off as, oh, well, it's just, some guy who didn't know where he was flying. They kind of know, and they know where they're supposed to be flying, and they know where they're not allowed to fly. And these are no-fly zones. There's no TAMs out there. But not only that, the question is, how many times are they doing this to potentially see how close they can get? We don't know who's actually behind these planes. They could be innocent people. They could be people working for those that are trying to get, a leverage, or, an opportunity, or even a test run at seeing where they can go and how close they can get. to getting to the president. And the fact that it's happening numerous times, multiple planes, over and over again, just sort of screams, we need to pay attention to this. I do recall it happening last term, but it wasn't like this level. And we're seeing things at a greater level. He's at a greater threat level, given the tension in the world with our enemies, but also given the divisiveness in America right now too.
And as far as armed man shot by Secret Service, there was word that this guy he was essentially in the mind state of taking his own, right? The stupid unalive, that kind of thing. I've always hated that. Why don't they just say taking his own, or there's a million different combos besides unalive. That's like how TikTok says it, right? But they said that he wanted to unalive himself, right? But that's just what we hear. We will not get the full truth on this. We don't have an exact, unless they've updated it as we have been live. There hasn't been much of an update about his condition. If he was perished, Dex, you made a great point. If he was perished, then they would have said he was perished. So he might have survived this. But again, earlier on Saturday, local police shared information about a person who was in that kind of mood, like on the same kind of watch that Jeffrey Epstein was on in jail, on camera, under lockdown. That same kind of mood, right? Yeah. Didn't work out for him either. But again, that he was there and he has not been identified. And it said that this guy who is in that mood will be traveling to DC from Indiana. So he was going across state lines to try to do whatever he was going to do. Around midnight, members of the Secret Service encountered the individual's parked vehicle near 17th and F Street, so about a block away. They also saw an individual on foot matching the description nearby. As officers approached, the individual brandished a firearm and armed confrontation ensued, during which shots were fired by our personnel. So was this guy just looking for, death by police? I don't know. But one thing is for sure, we're not going to get the full truth about it because we never really do. But it does kind of put this at the fact that, there's been many events over the years that people trying to go to the White House. And one of the messages that is putting out right now is especially that tweet, which again, it did load on the third one. You were right there. Is that it is making America more dangerous. I agree with this wholeheartedly. I'm not going to lie and say I don't. I think that the messaging that has come across on television saying that these people are a threat to this and a threat to that, that's where it's dangerous. But at the same time, it's speech. See, what's crazy is this is somebody on this side saying that what they're saying is dangerous, and it is. Whereas we all say that because they're saying, well, this kind of thing is dangerous, or information is dangerous. Wording is dangerous. There's got to be a point in the middle where you understand that you can say whatever you want, but there are consequences. If you say, hey, I'm going to go and put an explosive on a plane or something, then you are going to get arrested, right? But you should not be stopped from being able to say it in the first place if you're just trying to make a statement. I guess that's kind of the outlook there. And if people say you can't say this, you can't say that, well, this is kind of the right saying, hey, you shouldn't say those things either. And honestly, I do agree that this kind of messaging is getting people organized and getting people pissed off and riled up, and they want to take action themselves. So it's kind of this gray area where in the middle, you might even agree with something like that. But how do you be an absolutist, like a free speech absolutist, and then see something like this where you do know that the news and the media is constantly pushing out like he's a threat, he needs to be out of here, even having people on their show that say this guy needs to be, it's a really tough and complicated issue. Again, it's a very crazy thing. Dex, what do you think? How can you be, isn't it funny? Because this is basically, somebody saying the opposite about, that the left is, what they're saying is dangerous. When for the last 4 years, we've been complaining about saying hey, the stuff that we are saying is dangerous, or bad information is dangerous, or just words are dangerous in general. And it can be true. I mean, it can be true in some ways, right?
It just seems like whatever narrative fits the bill is what works at the time for whoever's talking, and it goes both ways on both sides. But certainly it's not. It's ironic and funny when you watch somebody use the rhetoric that was used in one direction and then turn it around and use it in a different direction. It's disheartening too.
Yeah, I mean, see, I want to agree with that because I want to say, yeah, they are, because they are doing this. And then we think, oh, well, our side is right. Their information is actually dangerous. But it's all, you don't know if you've been mind screwed into believing something that you shouldn't. I guess my hard line is I've been trying to stay more not in the middle and not have an opinion, but to have an opinion about both sides. Like when one side does something I don't agree with, then you call it out. Because honestly, at this point, everybody knows that these, this wing and that wing are two wings of the same bird. They both come up to the same stuff. If you thought that, Donald won without help from some evil people, then I think you're a little crazy. It's what he does with the power right now. It goes both ways. Like everybody is really debating about every little thing. And I've seen a lot of pushback too from even his own party right now, especially. And that's because of some of the things that are happening. The pullback in NATO, but the full support for Israel and what's going on there. It's like, we might pull out of this, but we're going to get into that. Right now is a very crazy time. And for preppers and for people in our community, we're just trying to give our best guess of what is the next event. And we're trying to prepare for the most likely events. But right now, it is such a toss in the air that, we really don't know. So prepare for everything. Because right now, it's less about, oh, this side's right and that side's wrong. It's more about like getting prepared for when both of these sides collide, because they're trying to make us collide. They're trying to make the world collide. They're trying to make NATO go after, Russia. They're trying to make North Korea go after South Korea. They're trying to make South Korea go after North Korea. Venezuela and Guyana. China and Taiwan. China and Japan. China and the Philippines. USA and Denmark. USA and Greenland. USA and Canada. USA and Mexico. I mean, it's just crazy. It is absolutely getting wild. What do you think? Let me know in the line below. And again, if you have tips regarding any of these stories, let us know over at marfooglenews.com and go to hot tips at the top. And then we have, again, make sure to remind your family members too. If you've already grabbed yourself an EMP shield, make sure to remind your family members that you care about to go get one of these on their vehicles. If you haven't heard of EMP shield, which there are a lot of new people in here tonight, surprisingly enough, we have a bunch of new subscribers from over the weekend. Make sure to go check this out, because this is a device that can actually protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, anything that runs and you want to get from point A to point B. This will protect it against multiple EMP strikes and even a Carrington-level event from the sun. Once we have that solar event, again, it could very well knock down our entire grid. But your car will still run. Your house will be protected. Everything within 250 linear feet of where you wire this into your home, all of those devices that are plugged in are protected. So forget about, Faraday cages for absolutely everything you own. You just wire this into one part of your house, and everything plugged in within a certain amount of feet is going to be protected. It's a once you're done, you're done. Again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. It takes 10 minutes to put in your vehicles. Super, super easy. And they even have a micro version for those of you that even might have tried the original version and it couldn't fit into your smaller vehicle, or maybe you had extra stuff in there and couldn't fit it into the engine or into the compartment. Now they have the micro. It's about the size of, I would say, less than a stick of butter. Go to Marfoogle News and all the same protection. marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off per device, and you will help our independent channel. We're on our own, and we're up against behemoths and, of course, monsters in the lame stream. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Code MARF. And, of course, that will save $50 off per device, no matter how many devices you get. Ray, thank you for the super, says, most people brake check Teslas in my city. I know that, when they first came out, even I think it's even before a lot of people were attacking Elon, people were so just irritated with Teslas and the fact that they had, they were Teslas, right? That people were scratching them. And of course, I think that is why they resulted in putting these cameras all around them. But the cameras all around them were catching these and they were putting them up on local news. We have a super crazy amount of Teslas in Seattle area. They are so everywhere that I don't think they're cool anymore. I would love to have one as like a second car. I think Teslas are cool, especially like they added stupid stuff in there. Like the fact that he advertised that you could put a fart noise as your horn, like that, my 12-year-old brain like said, yeah, that's the car for me. Okay. But at the same point, they're so everywhere that they are not cool anymore. Even Tesla trucks, like I've seen them after the first couple, 2 were exciting and my kids always point them out. They're like, oh, look, Cybertruck. It's turned into this like, slug bug type of thing. Here, you would be knocked out because they're literally everywhere. Not to mention the newer, cheaper ones, to me, they aren't that special at all. It's basically it looks like a little Toyota with a huge 15-inch screen that makes it look cool. But the sexy ones that they had in the beginning, they're everywhere. And honestly, with Teslas, it is like you live in a place where if you drive one, you're just like everybody else. That's one thing I think that they should like totally add in, different kinds, this and that. But as far as a main vehicle, especially with knowing about what I know about, how the world is going, I personally wouldn't want to have a Tesla as my one car, especially since, they're all electric. I would rather have like a Scout or something. If I could get my hands on, a good year of a Scout, I would much rather have that as my one car than that, especially since I know the Scout is going to run after, any kind of attack. But yeah, what are your opinions on it? And you may not like Elon, but do you think it's right that he's being attacked and that he has all these threats against him? And do you feel that it is the responsibility of the media not to put out dangerous, threats and even let people on that might say this guy needs to be taken out? That I don't think that's right either, And if something does happen, somebody does get attacked, maybe you let them say it, but then hold that actual news place responsible. But then there's problems there too. Then you're not allowing them to say what they want. Super complex issue, and it's even getting worse. And then could a bombshell discovery render all of the President Biden's presidential actions null and void? So we were going to actually talk about this on Friday because it was just coming out, and this is freaky stuff. And just like much of the last 15 minutes of his presidency, where he did all of these crazy, like huge ranging pardons, people are now saying like, what the hell? Dex, do you want to explain this? And this is something most of you have already heard, but the ramifications of this, we got to talk about this. Like, this is just so huge.
So look, the presidents have this thing called an auto pen, and it basically is a signature machine. It's basically got a pen in it, and it writes, so it looks like an ink pen has written on the paper, but they build it into their signature, and then they can auto sign things. Harry Truman was supposedly one of the first to actually use it, although most people credit Gerald Ford as the first one to openly acknowledge that they had it. Most of them, up until Obama, had used them for like the letters. Like there's so many letters they have to sign and so many other things. It wasn't like for legislation. I think Barack actually was the first one to authorize the use of it on a piece of legislation that had come through that he needed to sign while he was away. And he verbally like put through the confirmation, you go ahead, use the pen for it, et cetera. He knew what he was signing. And then there is even an account in May of 2024 where Biden directed the auto pen to be used to sign legislation providing a 1-week funding extension for the Federal Aviation Administration while he was away in San Francisco. But what has happened now is an organization has gone through and grabbed every single document that he has ever signed during his presidency and examined the signatures on them. And they're claiming from all of the documents they have found so far, including executive orders and everything else, that every single document was auto pen signed except for one. The only one that actually had his real signature on it was the one where he announced his withdrawal from the 2024 race. So
Which
that
is funny because everybody thought that was somebody else.
Exactly. Everybody's like, whose signature is that goofy thing, right? So now what it does is it then brings into question, okay, well, yes, the presidents are allowed to use it and they do use it, but why would they use it this much? And let's layer in the fact that everyone thinks, and it's sort of been documented now that he has not been in his right mind the whole time. There were even times when he had acknowledged that he didn't know that he had signed an order. I think he was talking to Mike Johnson and revealed in a discussion that that he couldn't recall signing the executive order halting the LNG exports. and so that makes people wonder, okay, well then who was really in charge and who really signed? Now I know a lot of us have these theories about who's really in charge. That's fine. But what may come of this is if this investigation actually turns into a real investigation, a DOJ investigation, then the question comes, does everything that was done become null and void if they find that he was not the one actually if he was not actually making the decisions to use the auto pen to execute everything from executive orders to pardons and et cetera. So and that will be an interesting question.
Here's one thing. They say except for one document, but what about the executive orders that he signed in front of all of the cameras on the first day of his presidency, just like Trump did on his first day of presidency, right? Those are all actually signed, and then those pens are given away like this is a presidential pen that was used for blah, blah, blah executive order. So they say except for one, but I'm sure there's at least like the first 32 or whatever, however many he signed that day, because we saw them. And then they do record and film him actually signing some of these things. But one other thing is, the X got attacked this weekend. Was it not Friday night when this stuff was all coming out, or Friday morning, or was it Thursday? Either way, this is kind of where a lot of this broke, was on Twitter, on X. So I just wonder if this was getting a lot of coverage, if this was really, really viral. I mean, look at all of the sharing of these. These are huge posts. 2.7 million views, and this is just on a little one. But actually, no, the actual ones. You're talking about just huge, massive views on these things. Each one that was shared is in the millions. So millions and millions of people are now asking the question, like, is this legit? Obviously, what you said that Obama said that it was okay to use this thing, but is it okay to use this thing all the way through for absolutely everything? And then could somebody else use the auto pen?
Yeah, I mean, he probably used it on a bunch of letters, right? I mean, I get it. Like, they send out hundreds of letters. They just auto pen that stuff. They don't got time. They got more important things to do than sign a bunch of letters, right? I get it.
Well, it's messed up because when you turn 100, you're supposed to, or you used to, if you were registered, or I don't know how, I don't get that, because we had family members in our family turn 100, and they were given the option, but they had to go through some sort of thing. But there are people that I know that turned, they're parish now, but they turned 100, and they did get a signed thing from whatever president was president when they turned 100. But that's got to be auto pen. If it was after Obama, you would think that those were all. I would think that those are worth something before Obama, because that president physically said, we've got this many people. Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford, Lyndon Johnson all used it. They all the way up through the current president, Bush, Barack, probably even Trump for that matter. I mean, there's too much for them to sign. There's not enough time in the day for them to sign all this stuff.
Well, I don't know. You look at Tom McDonald. Did you see Tom McDonald had like a million albums or something, and he signed every single last one of them if you bought one during his time. So some people didn't believe that. But we have a Fugel family member that personally knows him, even asked him at one point, like before I was doing any kind of music, and we were asking if we could play one of his songs, and he said, yeah. And this is after he got really big. And he totally said, yeah, go ahead and use it. I don't care. But they said that this other person, Stephanie, said that he signed every last one of them. Like sat there for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I do say, there's too many things for them to sign and whatever. But at the same point, I mean, you could sign them if you really wanted to. I mean, they take weeks off, and every other month they're on a golf course or something. But especially for the real ones, like the executive orders, the things that are super important. You would think that that would be manually signed because that is something of such importance. It affects all of our lives here in the United States, that would not be auto-penned. That doesn't leave it open for somebody like Hunter to walk into the office and go, you know what, here's an executive order, and then do an auto-pen on it. I mean, is it a computer app? Does it physically etch a thing in there? Because I've seen that, aren't they raised? It looks like an actual pen. How does an auto pen work?
The auto pens typically will hold a pen, and I mean, like anybody that's got a Cricut machine that does like the CNC cutouts, your arts and crafts stuff, those can actually do auto pen. You can put a pen ink in there, and they can draw. So it's the same principle. But in a much more professional manner, and probably much more high tech at this point. But even the old ones back in the day with Harry Truman and Gerald Ford did the same thing. It held a pen down, put the paper in, and the machine would put it down, and it would trace out the signature.
Yeah. So, as far as, the auto pen, people made a really, really big deal about it over on X this weekend. I wonder if that had anything to do with why it ended up getting attacked. I just really, really wonder. Caroline Quigley says cyberattacks on X. Yeah, exactly. That's what we've been talking about. It's just like what ended up happening. Who is it? If he says it's big enough to be a country, which country was it? And then the oil tanker Stena Immaculate crash off the UK sparks security fears as U.S. is not ruling out foul play. Now, some of these things can carry enough to take out a city block. It is very scary. Some of the stuff that they put on the water is stuff that's too dangerous to go by rail or too dangerous to go by plane. So a lot of that stuff they'll take over the ocean. With these oil tankers, they're also basically a walking explosive. But Dex, do you want to give more of your opinion about the oil tanker Stena Immaculate and what happened here?
Well, yeah, so this one was struck by another ship and it caused it to sink, and they're actually suggesting it might be foul play. They're not sure. They're not ruling it out at this point. So this happened over in the UK, in the Humber estuary. It was struck in the hull, and the vessel, it was hit by a cargo vessel, but it's a U.S. flagged ship, so it's a U.S. ship. Maybe owned by somebody else, but it's basically it's one of the ships carrying fuel back and forth to Europe from the U.S. So one of a limited number of them. So yeah, it's a big deal. The loss will be a big deal, but it's also the question. We've seen 3 Russian ships have been taken out. They're suggesting with these mines. If you want to know more about that, go watch the news short we just did over on Marfoogle News and make sure to share that out. We talk specifically about the mines they're using that they're suggesting are being planted on the Russian ships and then taken out later when they're somewhere further away or in another port to cause damage, to cause disruption. So it looks like the shipping industry is getting, potentially getting put in the crosshairs with the conflict going on between the Europe and Russia and how U.S. plays into that. And, whether or not Ukraine is involved in any of this is a big question too.
Yeah, I mean, just with this, the whole, somebody said that it looks like Russia is making moves. We'll see who is actually behind it. Over time, I bet you'll either hear nothing about it, or we'll end up seeing weeks and weeks of these kind of events happening, and it will be brought up in emergency meetings or in Congress, or sometimes things like this. If they're already angling it as it might be foul play, we might see that this will be used for some event. For some sort of hey. If they're doing this kind of thing, then we really need to push back type of thing. Mike Guyver, what is happening? Bobby Sue, our wonderful mod, says, never heard a Tom McDonald song. Well, in chat, I would highly recommend, give her a good one, not one that's, give her a couple good ones. There's funny ones too. He doesn't do as many funny ones, like I think the A-hole one. It wasn't an A-hole, something like that, but it less nice. And then some of the ones, and then keep in mind, he did all of it. The thing I respect is he does all of his music videos himself with Nova. Nova is also an incredible writer too, songwriter, and I don't think that either one of them would have gotten to the place they were unless they met each other. It's one of those things where I personally met many times and knew Ben, who's now Macklemore. The guy got really big-headed. He split from Ryan. His split from his partner, I think if they would have never met each other, neither one of them would be known right now. But because they met each other and this person had the production skills, this person had this and the confidence, it's like without meeting each other, they wouldn't have been anything. I still think that both are extremely talented, but I think when they met each other, there's those certain instances where there's fate that you meet somebody and they have that puzzle piece to you and you have that puzzle piece to them. You're lucky if you find that person. And I think that Tom and Nova found their person, right? But they did all of that stuff themselves. And I think that marketing too, as far as showing that they were signing and live streaming for hundreds of hours or dozens of hours signing those things, that's smart marketing. So on marketing and in their message is that they, obviously they jumped on one side, they didn't ride the middle. They were very smart with what they did. But Tom McDonald, many people see him as one of the very few successful music artists without a label that has hit that number one, that has been getting a message across to the masses. So there is something there to be said. There's very few that can get past those barriers of censorship and all of that. And he showed in many ways, they wouldn't give him billboard things. They wouldn't give him plaques. And then his fans, that's why his fans and his peeps, that's why they were very important too. They made such a big fuss that Billboard and all of them, they couldn't screw him over. And that's the same thing I said about, there was only one side that was writing thousands of letters to their Congress and to their senators. If everybody was actually like, hey, I can write a letter, everybody thinks, oh, somebody else will do it. No, they won't. And if somebody else is going to do it, it's probably the side that, is against what you believe in. So people should write their, congressmen and their senators about something they disagree with. Write them, call their office, leave messages, but do it the legit way. Not blow up a trunk or something. If you have a problem with something, make it well known. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out My Medic. You guys know, of course, we very rarely pick up any affiliates. And this affiliate is one that we picked up because of the quality. And people kept asking us, what should we do for a portable med kit? What kind of med kit should we put in our car? What kind of med kit should we have in our house? The MyFac is the one that is in this package. Again, one of the most comprehensive and packed in medical kits out there. Again, this is, the MyFac, but they have many different versions of this. They have bigger versions. I would say that the small one is perfect for a backpack, for a car, for, any kind of room in your house that you want to have something like this. And then there's bigger versions that are essentially backpack size. But again, these actually have the mole system that can attach, and they have a whole pad on the back that is a super strong Velcro that you can attach to any mole system bag. Those lines and the weave in, they're incredible. So it is very fast to pop open. Everything is labeled. Tons and tons of stuff in each kit. Things that you wouldn't even think you would need. Things that you won't think of when you go to try to put one together yourself. And that, obviously nobody expects somebody to need a tracheotomy. Nobody expects to need a tourniquet on site. Most people go, oh, my belt. Well, what if you don't have a belt? What if nobody has a belt? What do you do if somebody gets their foot caught in an elevator or something, or an escalator? These are the kind of things that people need, but they don't have. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/medic. There's tons of different colors and variations. There's, of course, different sizes. Highly, highly recommend it. It's got all sorts of great stuff and things that could be useful in any car, especially when you don't know when you're going to get in a car accident, or you don't know when you're going to drive by somebody that does get in one. marfooglenews.com/medic. And make sure to use the code MARF. Not only will you save money, but you'll help credit the independent news channel right here. So thank you guys. All right, and then we have some information from the Foogle fam. We're going to go over that now. But first off, I did want to make sure that I shouted out Stephen McMahon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see here. Stephen McMahon, I want to shout you out too. Thank you for the support this week. Ray, thank you again for your support tonight. Cyril, thank you for being a member. And then let's see here. 21 months, Machina Opus just hit this week. Machina Opus, thank you, and thank you. And Ladybug, Rhonda King, Tyler Rice, or Tracy Rice, I'm sorry. PW, Full of Hope, Jay Hill, Cheeto 600. And I have to go to the total time because now some of you guys, I never thought we would get to this level. I made all of those little icons on a, Dex, what is it called when you do the pixel by pixel thing? What is that called? That
pixel art?
Pixel art, yeah. So I had to find a special app and had to paint one pixel at a time to make those icons for the memberships. That's the only thing that YouTube accepts is you had to do it because they're so small. So I had to make those, and I never thought people would get to the past 2-year ones. So let's see here. Let me go to this. People are at the M12 one, and I guess it's 2 months away from the really, really special ones. So again, Marv 12, and then it's going to go after 24 months. It goes to these really crazy ones. So Stanley Barrick, 22 months. Craig Alicious, John Frederick, Mitchell Wintro, Main Watcher, Wages World, one of our mods, and then Sean A.K. Red, Ray the Way, and Miss Dragon. Thank you. I'll be thanking people all this week for those. So thank you. All right, and we're gonna read a couple of the hot tips that came in through this, and one of these is actually really kind of crazy. So let's see here. So this one is from Pam, and this is we'll just say Pam J. Snoqualmie, Washington, and further on the road, I-5 north in Seattle was another military vehicle that had temperature gauge and next to it read hazardous. Okay, wait, hold on here. Let's see. I think I'm reading part of this. Let's see here. The first one. Okay. Hey there, just wanted to let you know about a mile-long convoy of tanks and military vehicles going westbound on I-90 today. Again, this isn't just military vehicles. Catch that. A mile-long convoy of tanks and military vehicles going westbound on I-90 today. It had armed soldiers in full combat gear standing on the back of the military vehicles and stacks of ground gear. Mind you, these vehicles are doing 70 miles per hour down the freeway. It reminded me of the convoys in Afghanistan like I've seen on the movies. Just wanted to pass it on and see if you heard anything else. So I told you guys about a week and a half ago that they're moving a bunch of stuff around, and I don't know why. And that's because regular emails, Foogle fam have been perceiving that there's been a lot more convoys going on. So if you have more information, again, we're not asking for anything that would get anybody in trouble, but if it's in public like that, you are allowed to talk about it. And then this other hot tip, this is regarding Gene Hackman. So let me just pull up for those of you that might not know about the whole Gene Hackman thing or recognize the name. So the newest kind of news on Gene Hackman is that he had heart disease, and that was the narrative of how he perished. He was in the mudroom of his house. He perished from that, and they said that both of the people, him and his wife, were mummified, that they had essentially everything sucked out of their body somehow. Out of the 3 dogs, only one perished, which was the big German Shepherd. Now, some have said that, German Shepherds are very loyal dogs, and some very, very bigger, very loyal dog breeds have perished when their owner perishes. Somehow something happens to them. Like I've heard about this before where the dog won't leave their side, won't eat, won't do anything, and has actually perished in the woods. Things like that. I've only seen that. The 2 other dogs, I guess they weren't very loyal, if that was the case. But why would the dog perish? He perishes, she perishes in the bathtub, right? At first, people thought carbon monoxide poison, but they said that the reading in the house was, normal. Could somebody have taken them out, maybe raised it up and then lowered it back down, or opened the windows, aired it out afterwards? I don't know. Why would the German Shepherd be one of the only dog that perishes? And did they give us the actual result of the German Shepherd and what killed him? There should be an autopsy on him too, right? Did he just not eat? Was he starved? Don't know.
But it hadn't come in yet.
Yeah, so what the hell? I guess the veterinarians are slow on this tip. But I think it would be very, very helpful, because that's probably going to be another part of the mystery, right? If the veterinarians do the autopsy and they find out what happened. And did they do testing on the 2 living dogs? Was there anything that they would still have traces of it in the living dogs? We still don't know. But anyways, this tip comes in from somebody who handles the perished, right? So I'm trying to read this. I'm sorry, you guys, I've been 2 weeks of stuff coming out of my lungs, and pretty bad. All right, let's see here. This might actually be a new one. Shoot. We'll cover that tomorrow. Dex, why am I not finding the one about Gene Hackman here? Let's see.
It's from Jeff.
Yeah, let's see. I had a better time just finding it under hot tip here. Let me see. Okay. Is this it? Dex, do you want to read it? Do you have it up in front of you, Jeff's? I'm going to pull it up here. Let's see here.
Yeah, I got it. So,
there we go.
Jeff just posted this under Gene Hackman video on Marfoogle TV. Adam, aka Marf. I have a partial inside scoop on the Hackman issue. I work for a company that transports perished bodies for autopsies. New Mexico is so small they have one medical examiner's office in the entire state. It's called OMI, the Office of Medical Examiner. And he gives the address of the location in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He goes, I transport bodies nightly, 5 days a week. I have a buddy who takes Friday and Saturday night. So when I saw the news about Gene Hackman, I asked the OMI receiving staff, hey, did you get Hackman bodies? And they confirmed yes. And yes, they were, quote, as he says, raisined or shrunk down a bit, which I guess in the news where they were reporting that as mummified. Going back to his statement, he says, it all depends on the condition of the bodies once they perish, temperature, humidity, etc. The comment that struck me most from the staff members, she expressed disdain and frustration at the news to assume that what the cause of perishings were. The testing takes a few days or more. No one as of last week knows what the true cause of deaths were. The news is not trustworthy. I'll confirm again tomorrow night, Monday, early a.m., when I drop more quote-unquote clients off. We have to have all orders delivered before 6 a.m. because the techs get there at 6:30 a.m. and immediately start to work on which ones came in that night. It's truly a state-of-the-art facility, way beyond anything you've seen on CSI and CIS, etc. Hope that helps dispel rumors. He's in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And just another quick note, another company transports for Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Our company transports for most of the southern parts of the state. My region is southern in Alamogordo and Silver City, et cetera, et cetera. So that was his take from himself, as well as the, I guess you call them acquaintances or friends, co-workers that he knows there at the location.
So essentially what they're saying is that they don't exactly believe what they're saying. Now, the reasoning that they gave, everybody's like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Because he has Alzheimer's, he didn't know she perished. And then he perished just naturally of a heart disease a little bit later. And everything just makes perfect sense of why, no police were called, why this didn't happen, how did they both perish, why did, everything kind of fit in the puzzle piece. Mind you, there is so much chatter, and a lot of this chatter is coming from people that have known the person, or that have, dealt with him in some sort of client-customer relationship, like somebody who has worked on construction for the house, in New Mexico, or who worked on concrete there. Or this, there's been a lot of these comments from people who state or say that they've worked for the guy, or somebody who did the HVAC. A lot of these are construction workers that are coming out and saying, hey, this guy's got some weird stuff down below. Most of them say, hey, we didn't see anything weird, but he's got this whole system underneath his houses. One said that he even had a system under his Orcas house, which that I find harder to believe. If you've seen the little tiny island, it's tiny. It would totally be big enough for a system, but it is pretty crazy. I wouldn't want to dig under an island because I would think, man, what if it caved in with water? Maybe they have a system of doing that. I'm sure they do when you're that rich. But yeah, I told you guys when I worked at a resort, one of two main ones on Orcas, the people that I worked with said, basically stay away. Adults told me stay away. And at first I thought, oh, well, he's rich, he's a celebrity. They don't want him to feel it was of the kind of direction of like, hey, we don't bug the celebrities. If they do come in, and they do often, they'll pull up their yachts and they'll pull in, that we don't bother them, right? We don't ask them for pictures, which I already know all that. But a couple others said, no, just stay away. And I got a different vibe from them, especially when it was from the cook or the chef saying that, like, hey, don't go by him. And I would tell that to any busboy or busgirl, right? Said in a totally different way, like with the ugh. And of course, this is the same guy I met, and I was the busboy. I collected his stuff real quickly, tried to stay out of the way. He gave me $100 separately. He goes, this is not for the waiter, this is for you. And then gave the waiter like $150. So I always thought he was nice for years and thought, all of this. And then after the Jeffrey EpiPen stuff comes out, and after this came out, I'm like thinking, gosh, that's so weird. People said that he had all of these people, that he would pick up people from the island and take them out to his private island. Now, of course, he's going to have parties and things and brings, older people. But apparently they said he brought all sorts of different people. And it was always like a mysterious thing. And any dock that he was at, he would pay huge tips for people to just be quiet and not talk about him, not to say his name, not to do anything. He even asked in some cases to try to not have his name on any kind of sign-ins and things. Is that just being a celebrity, or is that something else? Because everybody else said that when he went into Orcas or any other town, he acted like a normal guy, and he didn't care if people knew him or asked for pictures or any of that stuff. So it was very, very weird. The whole perishing, I would like to see, are more people coming out with him connected with other people in Hollyweird? Or was he genuinely a good guy, one of the few that was outside of this whole realm of things? I don't know. But I do remember that, and when this whole thing happened, it was fascinating to me. And they're saying that everything that the news is saying is either getting it wrong or that these people don't believe it. The raisin thing, like, did they take all of the blood get drained out? Like, what ended up happening? Are they leaving something out? That's my question. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, be good in the comments too, because you guys are a part of keeping this place around too. High-tech computers, thank you, blessed boys. I'm Smart Dust. Thank you, everybody that has popped in already. Make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/friends. And it looks like Dex did a quick poll here. And it looks like 68% want call-ins back, or in some way callers back. And 32% don't want calls. So again, that is overwhelming kind of winning on bringing calls back. We're not saying bringing calls back every night, but we've got to figure out a way that is good for everybody. If you have an idea for that, let me know. This is a viewer-powered channel. We want it to be viewer-powered. We want more of your stories. We want more of your tales in the show. So again, commenting is great, but it's not the same as coming on and telling your story. There's a lot of great stories out in the audience. A lot of you have had amazing, crazy life experiences. That's the kind of stuff we would like to share with people, especially on the tip of anything, prep related. What saved your life? Were you in a disaster? Were you in one of the big disasters like Hurricane Katrina? One of the most insane calls we ever had was from one of our mods, Able-Bodied, when she told her tale of living through Katrina, being a nurse in that time period, and even having to have contracted, these military contractors take her to and from the hospital to do all of her work. She said she'll never, ever want to be in martial law ever again after that. And it was an insane call. But were you part of a disaster? Were you part of course, North Carolina? Were you a part of 2001? Did you lose people then? Were you in the tower? Something like that. Tell us your story. If you want to come on, we would love to have you. All right, you guys. And thank you, Dex, so much for your service today. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And again, thank you, Ray Ray. Thank you for the support today. And Samantha Winchester, Stephen Click, thank you. And so many more. Thank you to your mods, Bobby Sue, Ilea, Wages, Rip Curl, and many more. Go check them out at marfooglenews.com/friends. All right, you guys, it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Wrong button. And make sure to go check out that quick video over on Marfoogle News. Just look for that thumbnail. If you're in the chat, if you want to hang out with the rest of the chat, just stay there. You'll be ported over to Jams.